that recognizes the beauty of every spiritual philosophy. It aims at supporting people in their quest for a healthy and prosperous life, a life of significance. Revana Quintana and Osvaldo Mora, leaders of the bilingual ministry Unity Community of Light, are here every Sunday morning to bless you with either an inspiring dialogue and or meditation based on the powerful Unity teachings that we are certain will lead you to a space of deep personal transformation. Please be welcome to Encuentro Espiritual English. Hello, hello. Please be welcome to Encuentro Espiritual English. We are part of a new virtual bilingual ministry in Unity, Unity Community of Light, Unity Comunidad de Luz. And I'm here with two wonderful human beings that have been with me throughout this series on Healing is Possible. And let me introduce the first one here being who?
Future Reverend Osvaldo Mora.
And
Reverend Julie Johnson.
And I am Reverend Ana Quintana. And we're so thrilled that perhaps you have been here throughout the last weeks in which we have fully gotten ourselves into a journey of healing. Sharing the story of Julie and her daughter Leslie as they lived it. Like we said last couple of weeks ago, there's a book in which everything is shared. You may show the book again, Women Who Take Your Breath Away. Where can they get that?
Amazon.
Yeah, so you can get it on Amazon, and please be reminded that if this is your first time, you can always refer back to our material of former shows. We do hope that you are finding new understanding about the possibilities of healing that come from a shift of consciousness. In Unity, we know and we teach that the third Unity principle that says that everything at some level in the external started in the mind, that beliefs, thoughts, emotions do create and do impact areas of our lives like health. Today we're going to talk about how consciousness needs to be protected. Protected from whom? If you and I, through our own journey, have managed to solidify a state of consciousness that knows truth and lives from there, we're going to see how at different levels that consciousness gets reflected in the conditions of our lives. However, what we're going to bring into discussion today is how other people's consciousness can affect us. And either we take action and go higher to counteract that impact, or we might have to somehow detach. Would love a reaction from Osvaldo, and then I would love for Julie to share with us how that was part of your journey in the healing of Leslie. So, Osvaldo.
It was the year 2001 when this millennial just began. When I was living the corporate life, New York, all of those things, and I was trying to mix my shamanism with the corporate world, and that was a mess. So those things doesn't come together. I discovered that I am a shaman, and then I start doing things in the world,
Mm-hmm.
trying to put things in the world, trying to help people, without consciousness, without the real divine consciousness. But then came the boom, I crashed, and then I realized that I wasn't doing the right thing in the right way. So I surrendered. And of course, what I had to do is get out of everybody that they knew about me. So I moved to Miami, and I lived in Miami for. I was ready to go after 2 months, but divine consciousness didn't let me go, and I was there like I think a year and a half, and then I met Marlene, so that my new stage of life began. And it was 7 years after that I was able to go back to my original places with family and the rest, brothers and sisters, and all of that. So yes, I had to protect myself from the normal stages of life, because they were always pending that you failed, you were unable, you got divorced, you abandoned your family, you crashed the business, you owe money, you. So protecting my consciousness is vital at the moment of the new beginning, of knowing that I'm starting something from a different perspective, and it has to be in a different place.
So what you're saying is that because of everything you had gone through and the spiritual path of shamanism you have found, which was not initially balanced with more of like divine principles, let's say, then that led to some disastrous circumstances that you had to walk away from, and before you would create a brand new life, you realized that you had to detach from the world you had known and family you had known in order to find yourself and create a new reality.
Exactly like that.
So at that point, you could not coexist with them.
I wasn't able because I was, I wasn't strong enough.
To say, even if you think I'm this and that, I'm okay with myself. You were weak, so whatever
Definitely,
opinion they
yeah.
had, it could have influenced you.
Definitely, and that affected me. So, this once I got to surrender to this divine consciousness, the divine consciousness know the times for everything. So it was, as I say, 7 years after that I was able to go back to Ecuador. So when I get to Ecuador, I got with Marlene, with Daniel, and everything was different. Everything changed because they were able to see something different in me.
How do you think your family, or no, how do you think, how did they react to the fact that you were detached for so long?
Of course, they were, at the beginning, they blamed me for all the bad things that were happening there because of your fault. Actually, when my grandfather died, because of that, he couldn't, and his heart failed, and I was very connected to him, and he was very connected to me. So when I disappeared, let's say for that period of time, 2 months, during 2 months nobody knew where I was. So in that period of time my grandfather died, and of course the family blamed me about because of you disappearing, our grandfather is just gone because of you, and dealing with that guilt is heavy. So the farther I am is the better. So.
Mm-hmm. So what we're saying is that there are times in our process in which creating space from the people we love or the people we've been around is the right thing to do. Julie, how did that get reflected in your own experience?
Well, thank you, Oswaldo, because his story sounds so much like mine. Because one of my big issues, even though I'm a therapist, one of my big issues is what will people think? And I was raised with that. That was a really important issue in my family, and I was raised with that. So I couldn't even go downstairs as a little girl unless my shoes were beautifully clean and everything, because my father would say, "What will people think?" So working with Alice, she suggested to me that everybody was expecting Leslie to die. And they were being extra nice to her. All her little cousins, everybody was treating her like a terminal patient. And
Even though she was already in remission.
she wasn't in remission yet.
No, she wasn't.
She wasn't in
Okay.
remission yet. I was just starting the process with
Okay,
Alice.
yeah.
And I had a beautiful home with beautiful surroundings and all kinds of good stuff. And tenure at a time when teachers could not get tenure. So I had tenure, teaching tenure. So when she suggested that to me, it seemed impossible. How could I get her? She said, you need to remove her from the death thought, because everybody is thinking that she's going to die. And that's a very strong death thought. So as we start working this process, that's one of the first things we have to do, is not be around that thought that is expecting her to die. And so that meant that I had to move, and I couldn't figure out what to do. And I thought about it, I prayed about it, and a friend of mine said that he had just gotten a scholarship at the University of Arizona. And I thought, why don't I write to Arizona and apply for a doctorate in Spanish? And surprisingly enough, they accepted me and gave me a scholarship, a full paid scholarship, to get a doctorate at the University of Arizona, which was one of the best schools in Spanish because of its proximity to Mexico. So I said to my family, I'm moving to Arizona to go to school, and I'm taking the children. And, like Oswaldo's family, they all degraded me. They just said I was crazy, and they were all against it. Nobody supported me in that move.
But the way you told your family, when you told your family that, I'm just gonna go and move because I'm gonna get a PhD, or because I really would like a different space. You didn't go there.
I didn't go there.
Oh, okay.
I just said we're all moving to Arizona because I just got a scholarship and I'm going to get a doctorate in Spanish. And even that they thought was terrible because this child was sick and
then she's thinking about educating herself.
Exactly. Instead of thinking about this child and keeping her next to her doctors, she's going to take her to Arizona. She's really lost it. And so that was a very big step, because once I took her to Arizona, I never mentioned the disease to her doctors. Her new doctors had no idea that she had a disease. And they would, when she'd have her school physical, they didn't come and say to me, something's wrong with her lungs. They passed her just like anybody else. And so we lived incognito, really, because she didn't have any idea about her sickness. We didn't talk about it. I just kept working with Alice and on the phone, and doing what she suggested that I do, and but that was a very big step for her and for me.
So that the whole reasoning behind Alice, the practitioner, suggesting that you move to a different place was because she truly felt and believed that everybody around Leslie saw her as sick and that at any moment she could die.
Exactly.
And that was like a reverse prayer, right?
And they were all expecting her to die. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So in order for Leslie to be protected, you needed to not have the family be so close to her that even if they still held that, what is the expression that says, like in Spanish we say, ojos que no ven, corazón que no sienten, eyes that don't see, hearts that can't feel. So essentially, what she was probably saying, even if they hold that thought, it will not be as intense, you guys being away.
Well, and also the importance of consciousness, because I was changing my consciousness to a higher consciousness. She was working with me, but it was very hard to do it when I was surrounded by a consciousness of fear and doubt and death.
I don't know how to say it in English, but it's nadie es profeta en su tierra.
Right. No one's a prophet in their own country.
In their own land, or
You see, I saw that clearly because they knew me from the very beginning. So the labels were all around me.
Yeah.
So now this guy is changing. How come? Is he's being a loser from the very beginning. You see, so that's why it's important to get out of there, because nobody's a prophet in their own land.
That's right. And remember that I was the little socialite that was going to bars and doing things with my girlfriends, and and they that's what they remember. So they saw that. Now she's really going crazy. Now she's moving to Arizona, and she's taking Leslie out of here, out of our view. So
Did that affect you to know that they saw you as really crazy?
no, I was in the path with Alice when she's got me convinced that I am a child of God, and Leslie does not inherit sickness. So I'm in a totally different place, but they don't see it because no one is a prophet in their own country.
Right.
They just see the old Julie trying to make these crazy changes.
And now I see that it made sense too, because when you move to another state and you register her in school and you got a new doctor, there was no record there.
No record, and we never referred to that record again. And
So even the consciousness of the doctors
Right.
weren't there either.
Right, exactly. Plus, I love school, as you know. So I was one of the happiest periods of my life, because now I'm in a doctoral program, getting a degree in Spanish. So I'm very happy too, which helped me to help Leslie more.
Right, because that's something I've learned in my own experience, is that when you are truly happy and fulfilled, your children are too.
Exactly.
Definitely.
So and also I'm thinking that as you were happy because you were engaged in something you loved, it was also like a reaffirmation that all is well. I don't need to
Right.
be around my daughter 24/7. I can have a life too, because if that's again acting as if she's whole and perfect and she's getting better and better, and that's who she really is. Life goes on, and all the possibilities that were waiting for me are here, and I'm claiming them. I'm capturing them.
Yes, and it was one of the happiest times of her life, because she made new friends, because the faculty members had children, and they all got along beautifully, and we did lots of exciting things, and she was very, very happy.
I have a question for both of you, and as a way of reflecting. So let's see that Osvaldo, when he was going through his transition, had he somehow acquired an instantaneous higher level of consciousness that says, I don't care what my family thinks, I know who I am, and I'm strong, and I'm going to create my new life experience, and you would have done the same thing as to, I don't care whether they see this or that, my consciousness and my assurance and my certainty that my daughter is healthy and well and whole. Do you think both consciousness in that scenario could have counteracted the consciousness of those of you who were around you? And essentially, the reason you had to move is because your own consciousness was not as high.
Remember that Peter says to Jesus, I will never deny you.
Mm-hmm.
I love you that much that I will give my life for you. And Jesus says,
You're going to.
you're going to it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So at the beginning, Peter represents faith. So at the beginning, faith is weak. It's just like a little bird. Because at the moment of the process, I felt that I was just out of the shield.
Yeah.
And now what?
Right.
So I see the similarity between Leslie process with Julie and Mario de Ferrari being my Alice in this case.
Yeah.
Because he was my mentor and he was telling me all the time how it's going to be the process. And he told me about the first fear, the fear of embarrassment, that everybody is going to judge you. So you have to get out of that. Then he told me you will experience the feel of abandonment when you feel that you are alone. So then once you pass that fear, you will connect with divinity, and then you will feel the fear to surrender. But it's a journey, and we need to confront fear. Those three times types of fear. So
So it's embarrassment, abandonment,
and surrender.
and surrender.
So that's you see, it's vital that we get out of that space, because that's where everything began, and that's not gonna change. It won't change there. It will stay the same. When I go to my city in Cuenca, Ecuador, everything is the same. The same,
Vibration.
the same vibration, the same comments about people
Right.
talking about people. Is, oh my God, this is what I know. But now I have the vibration, I have the power to be myself there. You see, Jesus said, I led the world in order to take it back. So I took back my world. I took back my family, but not as I was, now
Right.
as I am.
Exactly. You know, that's a really powerful point, because that's exactly what happened to me. The people that criticized me and that said I was crazy and had nothing good to say about me, later, when I became a minister, asked me to marry them, and I did all the memorial services for my family, and they held me in high regard, but they thought I was a flake. And so in their consciousness, I moved from a flake to somebody that they really admired and respected.
And then because you were in, like Osvaldo, because you were in a higher place, you could go back to that scenario and feel that I don't care really what you think about me. I know who you are. I know what I stand for. And no influence of the world can impact me.
Well, I have to say, I wish that I had been that good and that high up in consciousness, but I cared. It hurt me a lot at first when I left, that they cut me off.
At first when
At
you
first,
left, but
yes.
when you went back.
Oh, right, when later, yes. But that first initial thing is really hard, because you break with all the people that you know and love. And you hate the thought that they're saying terrible things about you. But you just stay with your program and stay with your desire to develop yourself and grow.
And the thing is that I was living in the world where they were telling me all the time who I was.
Exactly.
So I believed them. So when all of this happened, if I stay there, I cannot change anything, because I don't know how to act. I don't know how to change that. So every time that I try to do something to fix something, it gets worse. So then when I surrender, I hear the voice saying, get out of here. And actually, I took the Bible once and I opened the book, and it was a passage about Abraham receiving instructions about taking the people to, Moses taking the people to a different
The promised land.
promised land. And I started crying when I saw that, because I saw the message was for me. I said, oh my God, now time to go. Bye.
Yeah.
So I guess that what we're saying is that at some point of the journey, not only do we have to drop the belief system that we have held through, before whatever challenge we're facing, but it might involve dropping the connections and the people that have been there with us. And at some level, it really feels awful, because we love our families or we love our friends, but we need to really love ourselves and honor ourselves, because at the end of the day, we're in different levels of consciousness. And we need to be faithful to whichever of consciousness we are resonating with, because if we don't, we're lost. And everybody will see the circumstance from the perspective and their level. But we need to, once we know what the truth is and we have validated for ourselves, we need to stay there firm. I always remember when I was diagnosed with a breast cancer condition, and seeing how different people in my life were reacting according to specifically their level of consciousness. And like my doctor friend who gave the diagnosis and had seen really the prognosis of a condition like that was really awful, and she couldn't sleep for the whole week thinking I was going to die. And then having people like Julie who told me, looked at me, and she said, you didn't come to this world to die from cancer. And I could sense that she meant it. But of course, she meant it because she's seen in her own life and her own journey with Leslie that all is consciousness, as life is consciousness, and that we see if we give power and reality in our minds to illness, and we say it's final, and we don't open the door to other realms of possibility, we're going to get stuck there.
Right.
And so, meaning that, how many people have you helped afterwards? You became a unity minister because of this. You have helped so many in lifting their consciousness, right?
Yes.
As we are like almost closing the dialogue and closing the series, at least the dialogue part, give us an overall statement of your life after all of this. She was healed, and what happened to you?
Well, of course, I kept moving up to the point where I thought, okay, now I want to teach this. How do I teach this to people? As a school teacher, I need to become a minister and give this message to the world through my ministry. So mine has been a healing ministry, and I would say there have been many, many people in my ministry healed because of it. And so I'm very grateful, never stop being grateful for the goodness and knowing that within each of us there is a presence that responds to us if we are willing to listen.
Is there any regrets in you, Julie, or are you grateful for the journey?
I am grateful for the journey. I'm as it turns out, I didn't become a Spanish professor like I really thought I would, but I think being a minister was even better. So I'm very grateful, even though there was a lot of pain. But when you look back at all the steps you took to get here, you're grateful that you took them.
To all the people who have been connecting with us through this series of Healing is Possible, what would you like to leave them with?
I'd like to leave you with the...
Look at the camera so they really see you.
I'd like to leave you with the truth that within you there is a God presence that is listening and that wants to work through you. But it has to work through you. You just can't beg and sit back and expect it to work. It works if you work it.
Right. It's what Eric Butterworth, the Unity Minister, would say, God can only do for you what God can do through you.
Amen.
It is through your consciousness that God can do. And this is what we truly hope has stayed with you, that as we expand our thinking, our belief system, our hearts, we elevated everything to love, we're really creating the perfect conditions for the miracle, for the healing, for the transformation, and for the good. Mr. Mora, your last wise words.
You know, I understand when Jesus said, leave your world and come with me. That's the only way. Knowing that Jesus doesn't want me to be happy or to be with my family. Jesus just what he wants is for me to get to know myself. So once I connect with all of that I am able to share what I am, know what I have. So beautiful. Thank you, Julie.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Ana,
Thank
for
you.
making possible this.
It's been wonderful sharing this space with all of you. Next week, we will have, like every week, a meditation on protecting our consciousness. And then we'll have 2 additional bonus transmissions in which we're going to just bring other people who found similar stories and are willing to share their winning formulas. Thank you so much for sharing this space with all of us. We love you and we bless you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.